All right, I got the YT up. Thanks for reminding me. I have a live button on my board here that I hit, and for some reason I still haven't added the YT to it, so I have to do it separately, and that's why I keep forgetting. But I got to get that added to it. Still trying to figure this whole social media thing out. One day. I'm praying y'all have a new sheriff in town soon. Yeah, there's a lot of people. But yeah, I cannot even begin to understand how anybody, like a normal citizen, I'm not talking about his corrupt friends and business people and stuff like that, but a normal citizen, like I would truly love for someone to share with me, if it's someone you know, if it's you, whoever, that's still supporting him. I in all seriousness, would love to have an adult conversation and just hear you out, because I've never seen anything like it. I have worked on quite a few corruption cases when I was in my previous career. I've read about tons of corruption cases, studied on them. I mean, and this Walker County Sheriff's Office with Nick Smith in charge is literally the worst I've ever seen as far as a whole. So it just blows my mind. It I got stuck on reading comments on his post today for probably about 45 minutes. And it's crazy to me. It's the worst. I have researched and researched and researched trying to find another law enforcement agency that is either as big as Walker County Sheriff's Office or larger that has ever had 30% of the entire agency federally indicted. And so far, I've not been able to find it. I'm getting pretty close to just making it a fact that it is the worst in the history of law enforcement in the United States. So, and I'm not from there. I don't know Nick Smith personally. So it's not like I woke up one day and was like, I'm going to start just going after this guy and talking about him. It's the worst I've ever seen. And you know, there's a lot of people that, you know, hate Donald Trump. I get it. He's not for everybody. His character's different. I like Trump just because you don't have to guess what he's thinking. He's just honest and he just says it, no matter how bad it is. I respect that, actually. But I understand a lot of people don't like him. And then also, there's just so much that people say about him that is literally, there's no evidence or proof of ever. They just make the stuff up. That is not the case with Nick Smith. Like, you don't have to listen to me. It is no secret that 30% of their entire agency has been federally indicted in the past year. Again, that's no secret. Everybody knows what happened to Tony Mitchell. And just, I wish that was the only thing that he was known for and that they had been corrupt about. But if you just take that, how could anyone justify that as a leader that he's done a good job? How? But unfortunately, like I said, that's not all we have. I mean, it's not. And so again, we're not talking about things that, we're not talking about rumors. We're not talking about personal things. I've got a file that's pretty big of just personal things on Nick Smith and his chief deputy, Ralph Williams. I don't even talk about those. I've never said them publicly, and I'm not. The only things that we talk about that I call him out for are the professional thing, the issues with his sheriff's office and the way he does that. So again, I don't know. I've never seen anything like it. I do want to discuss this just for a few minutes. If you don't know, I'm in Alabama, the state of Alabama, and I live in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And that is where the University of Alabama is, and also Druid City Hospital, a.k.a. DCH. We have two DCH. We have a Tuscaloosa DCH, which is what we call Big DCH because it's a very large hospital. And then we have what we call Little DCH, which is Northport DCH. A great hospital, just about half the size as the big one. And they're only about 3 miles from each other. There are parts of Tuscaloosa that are dangerous. I've worked the streets of Tuscaloosa for a long time. So there are parts that I'm not going to have my kids driving around in. There are parts that I'm not going to, that just me personally, I'm not going to go to certain parts and get out at a gas station. There are parts like that. Overall, I love this city. That's why I'm still here. I moved here in 2003 to go to college. And after college, I stayed. And other than 2.5 years when we moved away, or 3 years, I've been here ever since. I love it. It's not a dangerous city to walk around. And I mean, again, we go everywhere. Unfortunately, yesterday, in the middle of the day, broad daylight, a nurse was leaving work from DCH in Tuscaloosa and was approached by a guy who was attempting to rob her, and then he ended up taking her life. Completely innocent nurse just trying to go home from work. Horrible. It's one of those that angers and pisses me off so much because, again, we're talking about a completely innocent person that was doing what she's supposed to be doing in life, being successful, providing for her family, being a nurse on top of that, which is an extremely hard job, and I have the utmost respect for nurses. Young, and her life just taken over nothing. I was trying to see. Yeah, 27 years old. Ada Doss was her name. 27 years old, 2 small children, husband. That shouldn't happen anywhere, but for it to happen in my city, it adds to it. Number one, the parking lot where that happened to her. My wife and kids have walked across that parking lot numerous times throughout their life. I have. Both of my children were born at that hospital. So it hits very close to home when it's like that. And if you read my post I posted earlier on Facebook about it, you know my thoughts. I'm sick and tired of, I want to think how to word this to where you understand truly where I'm coming from and you don't misunderstand me, because I don't want to be misunderstood with this. I take mental health very serious. I've been an advocate for mental health with law enforcement for a long time. I was a trained, what we call peer-to-peer counselor in law enforcement, where I could go and counsel police officers when they were struggling with things, whether it be they just was involved in OIS, or they themselves got shot, or any kind of terrible event that they went through, no matter what. And I would go and meet with them and keep in touch with them from then on, and just help them understand, hey, this is the kind of things you're going to be going through. You're not crazy. This is normal, all that stuff. So I'm a big mental health advocate. It's real. I understand it, and I know how horrible it is. And the reason that I'm such a big advocate for it, well, one of the reasons is, it's about 12 years ago, 12 or 13 years ago, just out of the blue, I became depressed. Loved my life, loved my job, and it just happened. And I'd always heard people say that, but I didn't believe it. I truly thought depression was where your life's just, you're having a horrible life at that time, and so you're not happy about it, whatever. But that's, I'm sure it does happen there too, but sometimes it can just hit you. And anyway, I dealt with that. It was very, very tough. And I made it through it, thankfully. And I'm as good as can be now, thankfully. So I understand mental health. I take it very serious. It's nothing to joke about. It's nothing to just push off. But the way the news media, the mainstream media, is covering this story, instead of an evil piece of shit took this completely innocent woman's life, let me get it pulled up because I want to quote. So this is the headline from AL.com. And this is the same headline across the board with mainstream media. This is why I don't respect mainstream media anymore at all. I want to make that very clear. I don't trust them at all. It says Alabama nurse with the K word that I can't say, or it kicked off, but her life was taken at DCH by a patient in mental health episode. First off, he wasn't a patient. This happened in the parking lot of the hospital, but as far as I know, and everything I've learned so far, he hadn't been inside the hospital and was being treated and then just ran out. So he was not a patient. In mental health episode, when you do this, I could not care less if you're in a mental health episode. I don't care either way. It's not going to make her family feel better. It's not going to make her children feel better, her friends feel better. It doesn't make me feel better. But why is it the headline, patient and mental health episode? No, he's an evil piece of shit that doesn't deserve to be living still. I have nothing for him. He's worthless to society. And if his family hears this or see this, I hope you understand what he is. He's a piece of shit. He is worthless to society. And I could not care less what he goes through the rest of his life. And I hope it's not too long. That's my true feelings. Do not care. He's evil. When Ted Bundy was caught, was the headline, man dealing with serious mental health problems is found to be, and it was taking the life of numerous people. Was that the headline? When BTK was finally caught, was it man with serious mental health issues finally nabbed after years of taking innocent people's lives? I've studied both of those cases as well as others similar to theirs, so I know there's not a headline around that says that. Erica, I think you hit that right on the head. But this guy, patient and mental health episode, he was walking around with a loaded firearm, and he was trying to rob her. It is so disrespectful to Ada, her friends, family, her coworkers, everyone involved. It is so disrespectful to act like this guy was, he's just dealing with a mental health episode. And I hope he gets help. I don't. He doesn't deserve any help. None. So do we think BTK, Ted Bundy, Timothy McVeigh, do we think these people were completely normal mentally? Anybody think that? If you do, I question your intelligence. Of course they have mental health issues. That is not normal. There is something wrong in their head, in their brains. Of course. Most people that take someone's life, especially an innocent life, they have some issues. Of course they have some mental issues. So why is it this guy is getting a pass? Well, he's not getting one here. But this is one reason that I have zero respect for mainstream media and their piece of shit reporters, their so-called journalists that wouldn't know how to do their job if their life depended on it. They've got a bunch of 21-year-olds straight out of college reporting things when they know nothing about life. They have no life experiences, and they're just ignorant. AL.com, as well as the other ones, you should be ashamed of yourself. And I did have some respect for Carol Robinson. Honestly, she has written some good stories in her career, and she's not some young, just ignorant 21-year-old. So it blows my mind that she reported this mess. I hope she did. I'm going to give her a benefit of a doubt and say that hope that she had no hand in what they titled this. I hope that's what it was. I hope she didn't come up with that title. And I know she watches some of my stuff and listens to some of my podcasts at times. So if she's listening, please tell me that you didn't come up with that title. AL.com, you should be ashamed of yourself. And not to just single them out. Because I would like to see if anybody reported this correctly. Okay, I'm feeling a little better. I've just found one. So Channel 6, WBRC 6 News, their headline is Nurse Shot, Life Taken During Attempted Robbery in DCH Parking Lot. That's a lot better. That's way more accurate. So props to WBRC. Okay, and I did just get confirmation. He never entered the hospital. So he wasn't a patient. He was dropped off in the parking lot by some POS friends or family that wanted to get rid of him instead of them saying, hey, there's something wrong with him. Maybe we should call the police. No, they just dropped him off in the parking lot. And I hope they don't sleep good tonight. I hope they understand they probably could have stopped this. But I'm guessing they don't care. Patient. Yeah, so far, AL.com's is the worst headline. But yeah, real people, we don't care that he was allegedly dealing with a mental health episode because I am 9,000% sure by the time these was put out, he had not been set down. He had not sat down with a psychiatrist and fully diagnosed with anything for that day. It's funny how they're so quick. Mainstream media is big on the alleged word. Oh, allegedly, allegedly. Not when saying somebody's dealing with a mental health episode. It's like they just know. I guess they're psychology experts. No, they're not. Justin, I don't know yet. I'm hoping we will find that out. Justin asked, where did he get the weapon? That is a good question, though. Yeah, he didn't have on a shirt, and he didn't have on shoes, but he had a weapon. So, unless he took his shirt and shoes off after his friends or whoever dropped him off, which is possible, but either way, if they knew he had a weapon, that makes this even way worse. And if he was truly dealing with a mental health episode, guess what? They would have known, because he wouldn't have known to hide it. He wouldn't have had the sense to know, okay, I can't let the people I'm in the car with know I have this. I got to keep it hidden. Again, you see, this is, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this stuff out and to see right through it. But I think it was Erica on TikTok that said it a while ago. And I'm not pulling this POS's picture up because I don't want to give him any publicity at all. Nor am I going to say his name. But I think Erica hit it right on the head earlier. I think if this guy had different skin color, I don't think AL.com would have put that in the title. Because that's the only thing that's the only way I could explain it. And that's even more ridiculous. And again, AL.com and whoever was responsible for that title, you should be ashamed of yourself. And you just showed your racism. Why don't you just come out and say, hey, I'm racist? No sense in hiding it. We know now. Because this guy's skin color happened to be white. And I bet you, if it was another color, AL.com wouldn't have been so nice in that headline. And anybody out there that's being honest with yourself, you know what I'm saying is correct. Yeah, you're exact. I just got a text from a good friend, and uh, they're right. I mean, that's what it is. That AL.com is trying to be nice to DCH because I'm guessing they probably pay some of their bills. That is exactly why I have no respect for mainstream media. I do not trust mainstream media, and nor should you. And if you didn't learn that through COVID, then you're never going to learn it. We saw through COVID, they do not report the truth. They report what their advertisers want them to report. And we're going to try to follow the money in the next few days. And if I am able to find it, how much DCH pays them for advertisement, then we're going to call them both out. It just makes me sick. whoever wrote that title, if that would have been your family member it happened to, I don't think you would have put that in the title, in your headline. So I've learned to screenshot things because they will damn sure they've been known to take it down, act like it never happened. They'll try to pull a Nick Smith pretty quick on you if you don't watch them. But I can absolutely guarantee you this. Any advertisers that pay me or ever pay me in the future, if they try telling me what I can't post or shouldn't, they're not going to be my advertiser anymore. Money's not worth that. Again, if you still trust mainstream media, I feel for you because you're struggling. Now, I do want to give. Hold on, I want to give one media some props because I read their stuff all the time, and they're just a matter of fact, report the facts. If you live anywhere in around Tuscaloosa County, I mean any of the surrounding counties, they cover a lot of stories. I'm trying to think of their name. Hold on. Patch. That's it. It's called Tuscaloosa Patch. And they haven't been around too long. I mean, they've been around for a couple of years, probably more, maybe a little more. But again, I've noticed over the last 6 months since I've really been keeping up with everything, they always just report factual truth. Here it is. So if you're on FB, you can find their page, Tuscaloosa Patch. Go follow them. Give them a follow. I was trying to see. I'm sure they reported on this. I was going to see what their title was. I hope they don't let me down. Nah. So their headline is DCA or employee's life was taken at DCH Regional Medical Center during a random act of violence. That's what it was. But yeah, I can always depend on them. I've grown to like them. Now, on the other note of this incident, and then we're going to move on to some other stuff. DCH and numerous, almost every hospital I've gone into in the last 3 or 4 years has turned into this. And one day you're going to learn, and you're going to learn the hard way. And DCH learned the hard way today. And it cost an innocent person's life. I don't know how long ago. I know back when I was on patrol in Tuscaloosa, which was about to tell my age here, 2008, 2009. So, yeah, we're talking about quite a few years ago. But I do know then, I know for a fact then, DCH paid off-duty law enforcement officers to work there. And then at some point along the way, they didn't want to pay them what they had to pay them anymore, and they moved to these private security companies. Worthless. If you have your life depending on these private security companies, may God help you. There are 260, 360 for the entire for Tuscaloosa County as an entire county as a whole. If you put all the law enforcement agencies together, there are probably a little over 500 certified police officers in this county. Close to it if they're not over. My point in saying that is there are plenty that love to work off-duty jobs, and some of them need to for the money. Again, the only reason that Tuscaloosa DCH would have stopped hiring them and paid for these, you get what you pay for. These private security companies that have John that they pulled off the street and handed, if they even have a weapon, handed them a weapon and said, here, this is your job. And this is what you get. This is the outcome you get. Now, I need to make this clear. I'm not downing every single private security company. I know some, not the ones that are working DCH and Walmart, but there are definitely some private security companies that are solid, and they literally hire legit either former law enforcement, former military. Some of them only hire prior special ops. I'm not talking about those companies. Please don't misunderstand me. But I'm talking about the ones, and you see them when you walk into a hospital or Walmart or wherever, and you see that guy or girl sitting there, and you're like, Jesus Christ, where did they find this person? Pretty sure they were homeless 2 days ago. Those are the companies I'm talking about. But again, you get what you pay for. So they cut that cost when, honestly, I don't even want to know how much their CEO makes, because it would probably piss me off even more. I just don't understand it. Let's not protect the most important people. Doctors and nurses, I don't think anybody disagree with me, are some of the most important people in this world. Why are we not protecting them? Why? So the CEO can make an extra $1 million next year? All right, we'll move on. Quick recap. I'm tired of the mental health issue, mental health BS when somebody takes somebody else's life senselessly. Tired of that. In a company that has, God, I just saw this. Somebody just sent me this. They don't know how much the CEO makes exactly, but listen to what their operating budget is per year. $750 million is their operating budget for a year. So yeah, there's absolutely no telling how much their CEO makes. $750 million a year. That's a very large budget. All right. Let's see what was next on the agenda. On a side note, this is what I preach all the time. You have to know and learn how to protect yourself and your family. You better not be depending on somebody else to do it. If you are comfortable with a firearm and you've literally been trained and you will actually go to the range and practice some more, do not go anywhere without that weapon on you, not in your purse, not in your glove box of your vehicle. Not going to do much good there. On you. If you're not comfortable with those or don't want to do the training or can't, whatever, there are plenty of other weapons. Have something, whether it be mace. I'm not a big advocate of tasers, especially civilian ones. I don't. Now, my mind may change one day, and because the technologies may get better, but as of now, I don't recommend carrying a taser. If you hit me with a taser, my muscles may seize up for 8 seconds, and then I'm back in the fight. Like, there's a lot of people that a taser just really doesn't affect that much. So don't count on that. Spray is going to, unless you're just fully used to it, but that's going to be, I mean, the only people that's really going to be fully used to spray is some police officers and corrections officers. It's going to take most people down. It's at least going to blind them. It's going to give you time to get away, fight back, whatever, get some good spray. Again, there's a bunch of different options. Do not depend on somebody else to protect you and your family. What's up, Monica? And I'm still going to get, because I know a bunch of people still ask me about it, and I've been putting it off, but I need to get one, what are they called, Barnas? So I'm not going to say that they're great or anything until I personally get one and see what I think about it. But I have heard good things about it. But again, I cannot say that, get one, they're worth it and they could save your life until I get one and actually see it in action. But I have heard a lot of good things about them. But anyway, I mean, there's tons of different options. Obviously, if you can, then have a firearm. Do not carry a firearm anywhere around you if you don't go to the range. If you hadn't been to the range and shot the weapon in 2 years, lock it in a safe and leave it there, because that's where it needs to be. And no, it's not. Well, it's better than nothing. No, it's not. If you're not going to train on it, put the time and effort into it, do not carry that. If you do, you're going to be just as dangerous as the criminal. You absolutely have to, and listen, I didn't say you should, you have to, if you carry one, put at least, and this is the bare minimum, 1,000 rounds through that weapon per year training. Bare minimum. And if you have any excuse about why you can't do that, then do not carry one. You're going to hurt somebody, or you're going to get yourself hurt. Simple as that. And take some kind of training class with a professional that knows what they're doing to train you how to use that. Not your Uncle Joe that's been hunting his whole life. Two completely different things. Understand that. Two completely different things. Which reminds me, because people keep asking me, at least in Alabama, recommendations of a good training company to go and get trained and things like that. And I had one reach out to me, and they're wanting me to come down and go through one of their courses. And if it is legit and if it's as good as they say it is, then I will pass that along, and then I'll have that recommendation for everybody then. But unfortunately, I think it's next week, and I'm going to be out of town now, so I'm going to have to reschedule. But as soon as I can, I'm going to get to that. And then I'm going to, as soon as our website gets up and running, I'm going to have a lot of protection, prepping, self-defense videos, a bunch of courses on there. That will be great too. But you can't just go, again, you have to be hands-on and actually go out to a live range and put rounds through that weapon in order to be trained in it and to be able to carry it around. But you can learn a lot on YouTube as far as basics and even some advanced stuff. Again, don't just depend on that. That's worthless. But you can learn a lot on there. But be very, very careful about who you listen to. If you're flipping through and it's just the first thing you come up on and they're teaching you things, check their credentials. If they don't have their credentials, if they don't have their background and certifications on their channel, go to another channel, because that means they're not proud of them, and that means they're probably not. you don't need to learn anything from them because they'll teach you wrong. Be very careful with that. But if you pick the right ones, you can learn a lot of good things on there. So that's another thing that you can do for self-defense, protection, and prepping. But again, be very careful about who you're listening to on there. Yeah, a lot of your local law enforcement agencies will put on classes, so check those out. I do know Tuscaloosa County, if you're in the Tuscaloosa area, Tuscaloosa County puts on one at least once a year, maybe twice. They're free, and obviously you're getting taught by legit people that know what they're doing, and they're not the only one. There are numerous, so that is another thing to look into. Check with your local law enforcement agency if it's a good law enforcement agent, if it's a large agency. If your police department's got 4 people, it's probably not somebody you want to go get trained with. They may be awesome. They may know what they're doing, but they also may not. So be careful with that. Think about starting up a firearm training? No, not privately with my business. There's too much liability as far as a live range. Like, I love to teach, and I'm going to have some courses and stuff online, but live range is, the insurance you have to have is astronomical, and there's a lot of liability. Stuff I don't want to have to deal with anymore. Which I just said that in 2 years I'll probably have one, but as of right now, no, that's not even a thought. Oh, this is a good comment. Tammy said, I learned my lesson having mine in my purse. I was assaulted and I didn't have it to where I could get to it. And that's exactly. Keep it on your person. I just had this discussion with somebody in the last 2 days. I can't even remember who it was. I think it's somebody in person too. Yeah, Hoover Tactical. I don't know who teaches there, but I'm sure it's legit. I would bet anyway. So yeah, that's probably a good one too. But I and other people that know what they're doing will tell you the same. I'll be flipping through YouTube or something and see some people that they look very professional. They've got the setup. They've got state of the art cameras, and the things they're teaching. Oh my God! Be careful. All right. We're going to change courses here and talk a little about Nick Smith, because the election's coming up and his lies have gotten off the chain. Oh, yeah, so this is a good one. I think this one was made today. Somebody sent it to me. And if you're new here, you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, this is Walker County, Alabama Sheriff Nick Smith, extremely corrupt. 30% of his agency has been federally indicted in the last year. There's more to come. And that's just the little bit of their problems. This guy is as corrupt as you could possibly ever be. Done some horrible things, and is up for re-election, which is on the 7th, 6th, 17th, 18th. 19th, right? Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the 19th. But anyway, next week, I don't live in that county, but I've been investigating that county for over a year now, nonstop. I have some, very, very close friends that I consider close friends now that live in that county since I started looking into it, and I've met some just amazing people that live there, and they need help. They are tired of this. They want to change. But somehow, this guy still has some supporters. He doesn't have half as many supporters as he acts like, but he does have some. If you live in Walker County, if you have any friends or family that live in Walker County, make sure they go and vote on Tuesday. Make sure. This is extremely important. Literally, people's lives will depend on it. I'm not trying to be fear-mongering or any. I'm just being honest. So he made this post today. This election was never going to be easy. The closer we get to election day, the more the negative attacks begin. I had every opportunity to go negative myself, to bring things up for my opponent decades past that happened under previous leadership and were hidden in the darkness. I could have filled mailboxes with attack pieces, accusations, and political mudslinging, but I chose not to. Let me read that again. But I chose not to. Instead, I made the decision to keep my campaign positive and focused on what truly matters. That's a lie, too, because you're not focused on what truly matters. You're trying to be a therapist and not a sheriff. But anyway, the work we have accomplished together for Walker County. Recently, a poll connected to J.C. Poe's campaign reportedly showed he was in danger of not making a runoff. Rather than focusing on solutions, ideas, or the future of this county, his consultants apparently decided the answers was negative attack mail. Because, Nick, you are what they should be focused on. You are the problem. You are getting you out of office is the solution. And your county's future depends on it. Literally. And that's not something that I normally have to say in a political campaign. But this one, that is what they should be doing because he is the fix. Getting him out of office is what will change things. That is literally the solution. And how in the world could you run a campaign and not talk about him and what horrible things he and his office has done? Like, how could you not? The most corrupt law enforcement agency that has ever existed in the United States. And every time I say that, people say I'm exaggerating. If I'm exaggerating, find me because I'll say I was wrong. I've yet to be able to find it, me nor my team. Find me a law enforcement agency in the history of the United States that is as big as Walker County Sheriff's Office, such as employees, or bigger, that's had at least 30% of their entire agency federally indicted. Go find me one, and I'll walk that statement back. But we have literally been looking for at least 6 months now and can't find one. So don't come at me and say I'm exaggerating. That is literally a fact. You don't have to take my word for it. Go read all the federal indictments. Go read them all. Some of them will keep you up at night. Back to the first huge lie. But I chose not to. I had every opportunity to go negative myself, but I chose not to. Really? Let's see what else he has said before. See, May the 9th. So just a few days ago. Remember, he just said he's focusing on what he has done. Experience matters when leadership is tested. Literally every time his leadership has been tested, it has failed horribly. My opponents represent a return to the past, to a time when Walker County faced some of its highest crime rates. Is that him doing what he just said he'd been doing? Maybe I'm seeing it wrong. Sheriff Nick Smith brings proven active leadership with real patrol, crisis response. If they respond to a crisis, chances of them taking someone's life is very high. And community safety experience that delivers results today. Our county needs steady leadership focused on protecting families, supporting deputies, and keeping crime low. So again, he just said he wasn't doing this. My opponents represent a return to the past, to a time when, you know what, crime rates are BS. Because here's the problem with so-called crime rates. The least proactive law enforcement agencies in this country, guess what? They have the lowest crime rate. Why do they have the lowest crime rate? Because they're not out doing their job. See, Nick thinks this is a positive statement. It's actually not at all. When I see this, when I see somebody say that the crime rate is as low as it's been ever in this county or city, whatever, like, so you're not even ashamed to tell us your officers or deputies are not out there doing any work. Because that's what he's saying. Because that's exactly that's what I'm saying. Crime rates are very misleading. And this is anywhere. Now, if you want to say homicides are down, okay, you could probably say that. I'm not talking about Walker County. I have no idea. I'm just talking about in general for normal cities or counties' crime rates. If you want to say a specific crime is down or up, that's different. But when you say crime rates are extremely misleading. I literally teach this in my leadership classes that I teach to law enforcement professionals, leaders. This is literally a slide in one of my courses. Do not ever say your crime rates are the lowest they've ever been. Because to anybody that knows what you're talking about and what they're talking about, you just told them we're not out doing work. Because trust me, the crime's there. The crime's there. The drugs are there. You're just not out getting them. That's why your crime rate is lower than it was. Let's see if there are any other comments that goes against what he said. I think there probably is. Oh, this is a good one. I went through this whole post the other day from this Jennifer Ragsdale. Went through all the comments and everything, so I'm not going to go back through all that. But look who reposted this. Look who shared this post. Nick Smith, Sheriff of Walker County. When? May the 2nd. Just a couple weeks ago. But he doesn't do negative things in his campaign. This entire post is saying how horrible and terrible Jason Akins and J.C. Poe would be as sheriff. That's what this entire post is about. He doesn't share negative things, though. He doesn't attack his opponents. Nick, that was just an ignorant thing for you to say because you had to have known, if you have any sense, these people that are literally investigating me every day are going to see this and just go pull the negative things I've done. Let's see if there's any more. Well, that's pretty crazy. I think there may be another one. Surely not, though. I mean, surely Nick wouldn't make a post and just completely lie. He wouldn't do that. This was posted by him May the 1st. The second video from Piney Woods talks about jail staffing, deputy and employee pay, and the struggle to recruit and retain people as one of the lowest paid departments in our own county. Remind me when I get through this post to come back to that bullcrap up to BS, and I'll tell you the truth about that. But if my opponent is already 10 to 13 officers short at the city because he can't keep people now, how would that change under his leadership as sheriff and keep deputies if he can't keep officers who are paid several more dollars an hour than my deputies make? And places like Jefferson pay way more than the city and even provide take-home vehicles. Nearly doubling compensation overnight. I think I cut a word off for well-trained employees. It's a challenge everywhere. We spend thousands training deputies only for them to become valuable to other departments. The county can't afford to reach a fair market wage because we are tied to an outdated government system. I don't even know what he means by that. And that has to be addressed. As for the dark cloud, that narrative started back in the 1990s when crime was much higher. I was in kindergarten then, and the people holding on to that past are often the same ones who want me out and the old guard back in. So first of all, obviously, this is him literally calling out J.C. Poe, saying he can't keep his agency staffed. And now, don't get me wrong. If I was a political consultant, I would say, hey, we need to talk about that. But you can't say that and then make a post saying that you chose not to ever say or put out anything negative about your opponents. You can't just straight out lie and expect us not to call you out on it. I think we all could agree this is a negative post. Now, very quickly, I don't want to get off task here. Let me tell you something about law enforcement. Let me read this first sentence again. About jail staffing, deputy, and employee pay, and the struggle to recruit and retain people as one of the lowest paid departments in our own county. Police officers, listen to me. Police officers, law enforcement officers do not leave their agencies because of pay. Let me say that again. They do not leave their agencies because of pay. If they leave your agency to go work for another agency, unless they had to move across the state or something, they left because of morale. They left because of poor leadership. I've done some of these studies literally myself. There are tons of studies on this because, there have been countless amount of studies done since recruiting became so hard and retaining good officers became so hard. Every single study, hands down, points to the same problem. The reason that police officers leave their agencies: poor leadership. Not even close. Not even close. When I had to leave my first agency because we moved across state because of my wife's job, as a topped out sergeant where I worked, I was making a lot. I was paid very well. And I was going to go to work in the place we moved. I was going to go to work at an agency that paid, God, it was $15 an hour. I was making $39 or $40 an hour. And I was going to work at an agency at a small sheriff's office. I was willing to for $15 an hour. Now, I ended up not because of other things that did not work out, thankfully. And so I went to an agency where it was paid much better. But the pay is not why I went to that other agency. Leadership is why I ended up choosing not to go to work where I was going to. The sheriff. I went and sat down with him and met with him for a couple of times. And things did not work out because I saw, oh my God, law enforcement officers do not leave good agencies. They don't. They leave because of leadership, poor leadership. I'm tired of hearing him act like it's paid. Should they be paid more? Absolutely. I'm all for that. It is sad and ridiculous what they're paid. This is the same county. They literally pay, and I'm not making this up, they literally pay their grass cutters that work for the county, that ride lawnmowers and weed eat. They literally pay them the exact same as a deputy there. I'm not making that up. So Yes, Walker County and Walker County Commission is stuck in 1960. They are. That is not why Nick Smith can't retain and keep good deputies. Has nothing to do with it. It's piss poor leadership. I wasn't even expecting to get a double out of that comment. Let's see if there's any more. April 28th, just a few weeks ago, Nick Smith, Sheriff of Walker County, made this post. I was made aware of a video released by J.C. Poe. Mr. Poe has wanted to serve as sheriff for a long time, and he is entitled to his opinion. I can take criticism directed at me. That comes with the job. However, calling the sheriff's office an embarrassment is an insult to every man and woman who wears this badge and shows up for work every day to serve this county. The embarrassment, Nick Smith, are all the federal indictments. Your agency is an embarrassment. You literally have the worst law enforcement agency I've ever in my life seen. And I'm not the only one. I guess maybe this is not, well, yeah, it is. It is a negative post to J.C. Poe because he's talking about what J.C. said. Not as bad as the other ones, but still. There are 76 employees in this agency who come to work under difficult conditions. Now, that is very true. They come to work under the worst conditions ever because of you. Often underpaid, overworked, and still fully committed to protecting this community. Some are just beginning their careers, while others have dedicated decades of service to this office. They and their families have built their lives around public service, and they deserve respect. I could name some quickly that do not deserve respect that work there. Quite a few. Just go back and watch some of my previous podcasts where I call them out. And so somebody just messaged me, and this is a very good point. And you've heard it, if you've been following me, you've heard me say this a ton. Now, the lower pay does bring on more corruption as far as back to the pay. That is a big problem with paying your officers, deputies, very low wages. That opens them up way more to corruption. And again, I mean, I've said it a bunch and gone through the whole spiel, but that is a big problem. If you're paying somebody $15 an hour and expecting them to take care of their family on that, they're not going to be able to, number one. Number two, if they're not making anything at work and their house is in the middle of foreclosure, and these things I'm about to say is literally a investigation I worked before on a law enforcement officer. House is getting foreclosed on. Car got repoed last week. Wife's wanting a divorce because y'all have no money. And somebody approaches you and says, hey, here's $15,000 in cash. Will you do this for me? You just got to do this one thing. Absolutely, they're going to do it. Yep. Because guess what that $15,000 did for that officer? Got his house out of foreclosure. Got his truck back. Made his wife a lot happier. For a little bit. Dumb move, obviously. Very dumb. Because obviously then he lost that job altogether. And yeah, he went to prison. He went to prison for 1.5 years, federal prison. So, yeah, dumb decision. But again, that's what happens. If you're making $90,000 an hour, an hour. Okay, if you're making that, call me. A year, and somebody comes up and offers you $15,000 in cash, $20,000 in cash, $30,000 in cash, whatever, you're going to say no. Absolutely not. I'm not giving up this job. It's a good, no. That'd be crazy. But if you're making $15 an hour, most people are going to take that. And the example I was talking about just prior to that case with that officer, he had never been in trouble a day in his life. Perfect officer. He had never done anything corrupt. It's money. Money gets you every time. And because you've also heard me talk about security clearances. If you have a government security clearance, the fastest way to lose that, the fastest way they'll pull that from you is something bad. Is you get a negative hit on your credit score. They'll pull it in a second. If you have a bankruptcy, you're not getting the security clearance. It's not happening. Federal employees, government contractors that are caught spying for another country, that are caught for treason, none of them did it because they hated America and they wanted to take the United States down. None of them. They did it for the money. So, yeah, very good point. All right, let's get back to this one. Again, another negative comment from the guy who said, I've chosen not to. I've chosen not to. Just completely lying. There's something else I was going to talk about this one too. I think. I don't remember. But yeah, no. The Walker County Sheriff's Office is an embarrassment. Go ask a Walker County citizen. I talk to them all the time. I get tons of messages from them all the time. I've literally heard this come out of numerous people's mouths that live there. Sure, that agency is just an embarrassment. Because it is. It's an embarrassment because of Nick Smith. They tortured. Oh, and that brings me to my next topic we're going to talk about. They tortured a guy that the only thing he did to break the law, he did nothing to break the law. He was dealing with a mental health episode. He didn't take anybody's life. He didn't even have a firearm, even though in the beginning they said he did. He didn't have a firearm. He didn't take anybody's life. He was out in the middle of a field. And his family called the police, like they should have, to come and get him help. Instead, they came, they took him into custody, and then tortured him. And that is no exaggeration. Go read the federal indictments. They did some of the, absolutely horrible things to this poor man. And he was not in his right mind at all. Nobody deserves that treatment, but he definitely didn't. They didn't feed him. They didn't even give him water. They didn't give him any clothes. And then they put him on a cold concrete floor. Oh, and at times also sprayed water on him with a water hose. And he literally froze to death. And the great leader Nick Smith is 2 weeks. And he wants to get out and brag about how he's everywhere. I don't sit behind my desk. But miraculously, just that 2 weeks, he had no idea there was an inmate getting tortured. Not one time in a 2-week period did he walk through his jail and look in a window into a cell, which is right up by booking, by the way, and go, why is this guy laying here butt naked and curled up? What's going on here? Not one time. But he's a good leader, and he doesn't sit behind the desk. He's out and he's working. He's a working sheriff. Number one, he knew what was going on. He absolutely knew what was going on. He's the one that created that culture there and then let it continue. Now, brings me to my next topic. And this one, Nick Smith should be writing for Saturday Night Live. He should. Because the things he comes up with, all you can do is laugh. No matter how horrible they are, you got to laugh just to get through it. Because you read it and you're like, what? Is he really saying that? We all know what happened to Tony Mitchell. Again, tortured, just horrible things done to him. When his only crime was he was going through a legit mental health episode, didn't even know where he was. And that's how they treated him. Then we have Mr. J.J. Jackson, deputy of the, I can't even say that jokingly, deputy that gets called to a man's house I've talked to this guy's father, and they called the sheriff's office because their son was legit dealing with a mental health episode. Serious issues going on. And Mr. Jackson goes out and takes his life. And if you've not seen the video, go back and catch my podcast I did on this. I'm talking about J.J. Jackson. And I show the video that shooting was not justified at all. I don't know how in the world it was ruled not justified. I mean, it was ruled justified, but it was not. I don't think you would find any law enforcement expert that would say that it was justified. He goes in, And this man that called the sheriff's office for their help is standing in the living room and watches Jackson pull his firearm out and take his son's life right in front of him when they called him to help him. Nothing JJ did from the time he got to that house was anything that a trained law enforcement officer would have done. He did everything wrong, and it cost this guy's life. Then we have another guy. His family calls the sheriff's office. His wife calls because their husband suffering with a mental health episode. He's outside. He's screaming. I don't remember what all things he was saying, but completely talking out of his head. Obviously, something serious was going on there. And this body camera footage is just as bad. Or, well, we don't have the body camera footage from JJ's incident. The dad took the video, thankfully. But this one, I've seen the body camera footage. Guy standing on his front porch, just yelling at the sky. Literally, he's standing on the front porch yelling at the sky. And the deputy pulls out his AR-15 and unloads on him. It's horrible. Absolutely horrible. Again, nothing that deputy did was anything a actual trained law enforcement officer would have done. I've talked to that family too. And it's heartbreaking to hear them tell the story. Just like the other guy's dad. It's heartbreaking. And they all said the same thing. We called them for help. We thought they would come and help, not come and take their lives. This is how Walker County treats and responds to mental health crisis. And again, the worst one was the torture case in the jail. And then Nick Smith makes this post April the 25th, a couple weeks ago. When I took office as sheriff, there were no programs in place to help inmates break the cycle of crime. I didn't even pay attention to that sentence earlier. And we think Nick Smith has figured out how to break the cycle of crime. Too many people left our jail only to return without the support they needed to change. I opened the doors to local churches and the recovery community, building partnerships centered on faith, accountability, and second chances. That's a joke in itself, him saying centered something on accountability when he has literally never taken accountability for anything. Today, our Walker County Jail provides parenting classes, Narcotics Anonymous, and Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, anger management courses, literacy programs, GED opportunities, church services, and life skills training through our inmate cafe. Because of these efforts, our jail is now certified as a level 1 treatment facility for recovery and mental health, one of only 2 in Alabama. Of all people to say something like this, this is what Nick Smith says. So now he is claiming his jail is literally experts in handling mental health. I've never even heard of this. Actually, let me look it up because I've never heard of it. I don't even know what that means. And I was a supervisor at a jail, at a large one, and I've helped numerous jails get accredited. I don't even know what this is. There's a decent chance he's just made this up. So let's see. Because I know they're not accredited, not even close. So I don't know how his jail would get anything that's only one of two in Alabama, unless it's completely worthless or not even true at all. So let's see. Or it is something legit, and his jail does not have it at all, which is what it's looking like. Now, don't quote me on this. I want to dig more into this and figure out exactly what the hell he's talking about here. But my research is saying certified county jail facilities in the state of Alabama. Jefferson County Jail, explicitly described as certified as a level 1 treatment facility. Madison County Detention Facility, certified for level 1 outpatient treatment in partnership with Wellstone. And Coleman County Detention Facility, similarly certified for level 1 outpatient treatment via Wellstone. Yes, that's all I can find on it, but I'm going to actually get in contact with somebody with the Alabama Department of Mental Health and see exactly what this is, because I don't understand it. Again, I've never heard of it. I was evening shift commander at a large county jail that is one of the best in the state, if not the best jail, as far as, I mean, all the programs and everything, just top notch. And one of only 3 or 4 that are accredited in the state of Alabama, because accreditation is very hard to get as a jail. And we weren't this, whatever this is, and they have all mental health dorms with actual psychiatrists that come by daily. I mean, I know Nick Smith doesn't have any of that. So again, I'm going to dig into this and see if he's either just completely lying and they're not, or if this is something that nobody else has because it's nothing. We're going to see. But I'm telling you this, when I read this, you just making a statement that your facility is now an expert in dealing with mental health when your facility is literally the worst with dealing with mental health in the state, if not the country, and you make this statement. Let me catch up on some comments. I'm sorry, I've been horrible with the comments tonight. Let me catch up on some right quick. Has the DOJ been involved in this case? Yes, they've 30% of his entire agency, a little over 30%, has been federally indicted over that case so far. Everybody that worked there knew what was going on. That jail is not big. That's a good point. This is a small county jail. Have I ever looked into the Jessica Hamby case? Would love to hear your thoughts about it. Not really. I've listened to the Secrets True Crime podcast. I don't think I've really done anything other than that, like deeper than that. a while back, I realized that right after she went missing, I was actually called up there to assist with the state agents on that case. And I went up there and spent the day helping them with some cell phone stuff and just a few things. And they wanted me to come back, but I didn't really. This sounds horrible to say now, and I regret, like, now knowing that she's never found. I mean, I feel horrible about it. I don't know that I could have done anything different than they were at the time. But I didn't really care about spending a couple weeks up there at that time, and so I just didn't go back, unfortunately. But I'll have to go back and listen to some of the podcasts to remember. I mean, obviously, I have some opinions on it. I don't remember exactly what they were right now off the top of my head. All right, let's see if there was anything else. Oh, yeah, I'll pull that video up in a minute, Christy. Sorry, I wasn't ignoring you. There's the man, the myth, the legend. $3,000, and let me see again. Somebody that really knows what they're looking at can pick through this. 3,000 drug related arrest. Notice that doesn't say 3,000 drug arrest. So let me tell you what they did by throwing that related word in there. They, God knows what all they pulled into that. Like, did they pull in? I arrested this guy for criminal mischief, but he told me about some drug stuff. So we're going to count that as a drug related arrest. I don't know. Again, that's a very misleading word when you throw that in. If they literally had 3,000 drug arrests, that's what it would say. It wouldn't say related arrest. Again, I don't know what that means, but I know what the word related means, and I know how big of a change that can make in the statement. Again, lower crime because they're not freaking working. We know they don't work. Lower overdose deaths. Now, keep in mind, he is talking about since he took office, which was in 2018. So, first of all, there's no way of us knowing if there's lower overdose deaths. Second, there probably is because that's like that across the country. You know why? Hold on one second. The person just messaged me no is your answer. Anyway, so lower overdose deaths. It wouldn't have anything to do with Narcan, would it? Literally the miracle drug that was created that has saved more lives than possibly anything. It wouldn't have anything to do with that and anything to do with now way more people carry Narcan. Any average citizen can carry Narcan and should. All EMT paramedics carry it. I hope all law enforcement officers carry it. Again, I see right through this. Did he say lower overdoses? No, he didn't. He said lower overdose deaths. Again, that last word changes that a lot. Technically, lower overdose deaths definitely does not mean lower overdoses. If anything, it could mean more. We don't know. But it definitely doesn't mean lower overdoses. Because if they knew they had lower overdose, they would say that, not deaths. Again, words matter. And here's the main thing. When I first saw this today, the biggest thing that stuck out to me is lower crime, lower than what? What are we comparing this to? Are we comparing it to the previous 4 years before you got in office? Are we comparing it to the previous 35 years? This doesn't tell us anything. It's a play with words. Lower violent crimes. Let me say something. And this is something we just discussed the other night. Which is one of the biggest issues, in my opinion, that they have in Walker County. The amount of people that mysteriously lost their lives, and for the sheriff's office and Joey Vick to come out and say, oh, they took their own life. That's a big problem. And we know that happens quite often there. We know that happens often there. This last thing he says here is a complete bold lie. Oh, TikTok. We're about to get banned. Reasons, mental health. Did I slip up and say the S word or something? I didn't think I did, but it's ridiculous. We can't use the real words, TikTok. I can go through the lives right now, and the amount of females that have no clothes on and literally doing things in front of the camera, and you don't ban them. But we're talking about real stuff, and you keep trying to ban me. Mm. Let me log off right quick and then back on, so maybe it doesn't do it. So TikTok, just stand by for just a second. It won't take but a second, and I'll be right back on live, so just click back on it. I have a hate for TikTok that I can't even describe. My dream, literally, one of my dreams is one day I will not have to ever get on TikTok again. And as soon as I don't have to, I will never be on that worthless platform ever again. You have to be so careful. You can't talk about anything. Mm. Like, I mean, I have a hate for that platform, legit. I apologize. Give me a second. I'm writing them a bad email. I couldn't even finish it. Apparently, it only takes 2,000 characters. All right. Oh, I hate TikTok. The only reason I'm still it pays me way more. I mean, it's literally what pays the bills. None of the other platforms pay me that well at all. So without TikTok right now, I mean, I literally wouldn't be able to do this. That's the only reason I'm still on there. But it gets very frustrating. I think they're on me so bad because we talk about child predators so much. I mean, honestly, I truly do. I don't think they want you talking about that. All right. I apologize for that. Where was we? So, this last thing he says, deputies in every school campus since 2019. That's a all-out lie. I mean, that's as big a lie as you could tell. Because first off, he didn't have every school campus manned since 2019. Number one, that is a lie that he tells. That didn't happen. It's a complete lie. He put some in some of them, not all of them. This says every school. That's a complete lie. And it's one of those things that he thinks if he says it enough, people are just going to start believing him. Two, literally, let's talk about his school resource officers. Hold on one second. Let's talk about our school resource officers. They're in Walker County. At least two of them were literally not certified deputies, had never been through academy, so completely untrained. Not only were they uncertified, A Post had already told Nick Smith and Ralph Williams, his chief deputy, that they were not ever going to allow those two to be certified as deputies. So that tells you some big problems with those people. So you had completely untrained guys in some of these schools. Completely untrained, not even certified. If something bad would have happened, it would have bankrupted Walker County. I mean, there would have been no way to fight that in civil court for him. No way. Yeah, thank you, Christy. J.J. Jackson is a current SRO at Summington. That's the same guy I was talking about a while ago that responded to a call in a house and just took the guy's life. Not justified at all. The same deputy that was at a house when a family's pet goat, they had a little pet goat. It walked up behind JJ. It had never, and this is according to the family and friends of the family, it had never harmed anybody. It was a tiny goat. It was not mean at all. Because, yeah, some goats can be mean. But this was like a pet. It played with their children. It walks up behind him. That's it. And he turns around, and it scares him so bad, he pulls his weapon out and shoots it and kills it. A goat. A pet goat at that. He's way overweight. Way overweight. There's no way he could run a quarter of a mile. Literally no way he could run a quarter of a mile. No exaggeration. Tactically, he is horrible. I did a whole podcast on him where I go through everything he's horrible. I don't want to be anywhere around that guy. He is dangerous because he's so untrained and so overweight and out of shape. It's ridiculous. He is one of his SROs right now. If your kid goes to Summington, you should be at the Walker County Sheriff's Office every day asking Nick Smith, why is that man in your school? Because I'm telling you, I don't care how much you like him. This is not about, oh, he's nice. You understand that? This is your kid's safety. This is a bad guy or girl comes in that school and wants to do harm to children. Nobody, not one person could, if they spoke honestly, not one person could say that's who they would want in there protecting them. Not one. If you have children that go to Summerton, or friends or family members that their children go to Summerton, they need to understand who their SRO is. And again, all I ever hear is, he's a nice guy. He's a super nice guy. I don't care that he's nice. Literally the last of my worries. That is the least thing I care about when it comes to protecting my kid. Being nice has absolutely nothing to do with it. When a bad guy comes in there to do harm to children, I'll tell you exactly what would happen, if not worse. The situation in Uvalde, Texas. That's exactly what JJ would do. Or he would literally have a heart attack in the middle of it because he's ridiculously out of shape. I mean, I'm telling you, the reason he took that guy's life in that house that night is because after and go watch the video, so less than a minute of tussling around with this guy that was way smaller than him, and they were just tussling around. Less than a minute, he was so out of breath, he couldn't do anything else, and so he pulled his weapon out and shot him. Less than a minute of tussling around with somebody. So impossible for him to run down a hallway of a school and take action. It's not, it couldn't happen. This fires me up every time we talk about it with him being an SRO. Because there's nothing funny about it at all. This is scary and unacceptable that's one of the people he has protecting kids. How many more examples of this do we need to see before we realize we need to actually start putting officers that know what they're doing in these schools? We had the Florida incident where the SRO literally ran from the suspect because he was some old white guy, retired, and had no business there. That's another one of my big pet peeves. You're telling me you're going to put somebody that's retired to protect my kids? Are you crazy? I don't want some retired guy protecting my kids. I want the SWAT guy that's 25, 35 years old, in top shape, well-trained. That's who I want protecting my kids. That's who should be protecting my kids. Not a 280-pound overweight POS. He's a nice guy. The fact that somebody's talking to you about the safety of your kids and that even comes into your mind, well, he's a nice guy. What is wrong with you? That's not true, Lowingo. The ones that's trying to sleep with students are the older guys. That brings us to our next prior SRO. And we'll watch the video of this POS. Also, if you have to worry about that, you need to move. If you're worried about that with your law enforcement agency, you don't need to be there. But young guys do not fit that profile at all. I mean, I can bring up the actual statistics for the ages, but that a 20 or 30-year-old does not fit that profile at all. Well, I forgot last time we tried to bring this up, it wasn't working. Let me find this right quick. Well, we'll move on. I was trying to show you the video of Jason Hare, who was a previous. You've had 2 young guys arrested for that, both 30 or less. 2? And you're comparing that to every law enforcement agency in the country? Yeah, that's it, in all seriousness, that's extremely rare. It's extremely rare. But anyway, Jason Hare, who before he left Walker County Sheriff's Office, what, a year ago, 2 years ago, was an SRO. Then he took the chief's position at, was it Cordova? For some reason, I always get Carbon Hill and Cordova mixed up. So somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was Cordova Police Department. Yeah, it was Cordova. 6 months after he was hired as the chief of Cordova, he's caught on video SAing a 18-year-old female that was working her first job ever out of high school as a dispatcher. I mean, it's clear as day. It's on video. It's horrible. Every time I watch the video, I want to knock his freaking teeth down his throat. So are we to believe he just became a predator once he got to Cordova as the chief? We don't think he was a predator when he was an SRO in the schools, where there's plenty of 18-year-old girls. Well, I guarantee you he did. I would bet everything in my life on it. So when Nick Smith brags about putting SROs in school, this is the SROs he puts in school. Either they're not certified, so they're not even allowed to be carrying a badge and a weapon, completely untrained, like literally no training, or extremely overweight, out of shape, literally cannot last more than not even a minute in any kind of fight. And this wasn't even a fight, it was a tussle. Can't even last a minute. Then the other, Jason Hare, who SA'd a young girl on video where we all could see it. Now, thankfully, Cordova at least did force him to resign. That's a big problem. He shouldn't have been forced to resign. He should have been fired. And when I ever see out in public that Cordova mayor, I'm going to be professional about it, but I'm going to tell him how I feel about that. In all seriousness, he needs somebody to approach him, to confront him, and tell him that he is a complete piece of shit and that he is a child predator too. Because I guarantee you, with that statement that mayor put out, he's done the same thing. I guarantee you he has. Possibly even worse. He's a creep. flesh is weak. Anyway, so Jason Hare was another one of this. So these are the people he's putting in protecting your schools in Walker County. It's horrible. Oh, and I need to say right quick, if you're new, I would really appreciate if you hit the follow button, whichever platform you're on, or subscribe button, depending on what platform you're on. And also make sure I do have a full podcast. Make sure you catch that, and you can find that on the YT, Spotify, or Apple Podcast. You can find me anywhere under Agent D. Baker. And if you are getting value out of this live, or if you're enjoying the live, if you wanted to, and you can, I would really appreciate you sending some gifts. Very appreciative. I just came across your content a couple of weeks ago. You are in Bama, correct? Yes, I am. Oh, thank you, Pamela. I really appreciate that. Yes, JJ should have been charged. Should have been charged. It's anyway. None of those people should have been. None of them should be a deputy, much less a school resource officer. Again, that's just as bad. Honestly, that's worse than these agencies and schools that put retired guys as school resource officers. Now, are there a few retired guys that are probably solid and could do anything? Yeah, absolutely. There's exceptions to that. But for the most part, that's a horrible idea. And if your age, if where you live, if that school or that agency is putting old retired people as your SROs, you need to go up there and complain and tell them, I don't want some old guy or girl protecting my children. I want the young SWAT guy that's in shape, that trains almost every day and knows what he's doing, he or she. That's who I want protecting my children. Nick was supposed to have court today. I've not heard anything about it. Team, has anybody heard? Oh, what's up, Ingle? Oh, no, you're absolutely right. You're spot on with that. Absolutely. Oh, so there is an update. Hold on, my team says there's an update. Let me see what they say. Is it this last one you sent? Okay. Let's see. Amber with Secret True Crime Podcast has put out an update. So I'm just going to read it to you. For those wanting an update on today's court hearing, here's some context. I was there. It was mundane. That's why I didn't go and figured it'd be anything going on. One correction to the WBRC story. The judge ordered attorneys to file briefs within 15 days. He did not indicate when he would rule. If you do not like opinions, here is your cue to stop reading. It is my opinion that what played out in the courtroom today was a poorly crafted political stunt timed 1 week before a primary election. It was the sheriff's last big opportunity to stand before a judge and cry that he is a victim of political persecution. The irony and the hypocrisy of it all are astounding. That is Nick Smith, though. He's always the victim. And him claiming this is political prosecution, we are talking about people that have lost their lives. We're talking about people that were tortured. That's not political prosecution, Nick Smith. Those were real people with real families. All those federal indictments, they're real, Nick. They're not fake. Those are real indictments. And I have a good feeling yours is coming, Mr. Smith. Anyway, really good feeling on that at some point. So I'm pulling up the WBRC. Here, I'll pull this up so everybody can see it. We'll go over this right quick. And then there's, I believe there's another topic we're going to move on to for a minute. A very unusual matter. Testimony heard on alleged agreement for Walker County DA to drop charges against. There's so much. See, I'd forgotten about that. That whole debacle with him just completely lying. Him and his attorney. A Walker County judge Wednesday heard testimony on whether there's enough evidence of an alleged agreement between the sheriff and district attorney to drop charges and whether it could be enforced. The legal team representing Sheriff Nick Smith claims that they reached a plea bargain with District Attorney Bill Adair's office to dissolve misdemeanor charges for both the sheriff and his chief deputy, Ralph Williams, make a positive statement to the press about working together, and that DA Adair would ask APOS to not take any actions against Smith and Williams, but the DA's office never followed through. Anybody with any common sense is going to read and say, why in the hell would he agree to that? That doesn't make sense. Why would he agree to all that? During testimony, attorney Charles Tatum said most of the conversations about the alleged agreement happened not with the district attorney, but rather with assistant district attorney Brian Warren. Warren claims he did not have discussions with Tatum about potential agreements, but that Tatum took liberties with what was discussed and felt Tatum was trying to box the state into an agreement that he would like with emails he sent to the DA's, the DA's office outlining the alleged verbal agreement. Tatum claimed he was under the impression that Warren had authority as a chief deputy district attorney, but both Warren and Adair claim that he does not hold any sort of position. The charges stem from Sheriff Smith and Williams allegedly, well, they didn't allegedly, we know what happened. They employed deputies despite knowing they were not APO certified. Tatum claims the plea negotiations began in October and that by the end of November, an initial agreement was reached. So this is, and if you're not familiar with this debacle, well, let me see if there's anything else of substance here. Oh, Tatum, during testimony today, admitted he never got any response in writing from the DA's office. So he's going in with the whole, well, it happened. We talked about it, and it just wasn't in writing. He's either a horrible attorney or he's lying. Because any attorney would tell you it's not an agreement unless you get it in writing. And why in the hell wouldn't you get it in writing right then if that was the agreement? I like this quote by the judge. "This is a very unusual matter," said Judge Doug Ferris at one point during the hearing, before adding that this type of issue has never happened in his 20 years on the bench. That's a common theme for the things going on in Walker County. Literally things that have never happened before in the history of law enforcement. That's pretty solid that even the judge said that. But if you're not up to date on this agreement, Nick Smith and his chief deputy, Ralph Williams, was indicted by the state for employing these deputies that they knew was not APO certified. They also knew they would never be allowed to be APO certified. So they filed, the DA's office, Bill Adair's office, filed the charges, and then the grand jury in Walker County indicted both of them on those charges. Right after the indictment, right like the next day or 2 days after they were arrested, Nick Smith then filed a bar complaint against Bill Adair. And it was BS. Like, the complaint made no sense. It was just, and in fact, the Bar Association did their investigation on it and found no wrongdoing on Adair's part because he didn't do anything wrong. But Nick Smith and his attorneys are claiming that back in, what did it say, October, that Bill Adair, agreed to that he was going to drop all their charges, drop all their criminal charges, as you read, and put out a positive statement about them and beg APOS not to pull their certification because both their certifications are going to get pulled. I know that for a fact. I think they're just waiting till the court case gets over. But that Adair agreed to do all of that, and Nick Smith agreed that he was going to recant his bar complaint that he filed on Bill Adair. Well, one problem with that is that's not the way it works. And the Alabama bar said that once a complaint is filed, you can't pull it back. Like, it's not like you can send them, and this is common sense. If you send them that this attorney did something illegal or unethical, whatever the case is, and then you call them back the next day and say, you know what, I'm not mad at them anymore, I'm going to pull that. No, they already know. Like, they've got it in front of them, so they have to investigate. And so they had already investigated everything. So anyway, it's impossible to pull a bar complaint. Bill Adair knew that. So it's not an agreement anybody would have made. Nick Smith, Nick Smith and his lawyers literally made this whole thing up. That's how crazy this is. They will literally just make up stuff and take it to court. I've never seen anything like it. Have I tried covering stuff about what's going on down in Lee County? No, I don't. No, I don't think I'm familiar with anything in Lee County. If you know something, send me a message about it, and I'll look into it. But yeah, anyway, it's crazy. Oh, we're gonna pull this up too. Speaking of lying politicians, well, you can't call this guy a politician because he's not. This is a joke. It literally should be a joke. Unfortunately, he's serious. If you have not been made aware or came across this Jamel Brown, who is running for governor in the state of Alabama on the Democrat ticket. When I first saw his stuff, I literally thought he was a comedian and it was satire stuff. Because his stuff it's way out there. Like he wants to make his campaign, one of the things on it is to make Montgomery a strip club city. On day one, he is going to immediately release all nonviolent criminals from prisons, all of them. God, that's not even the worst. I don't remember all of them. I'd have to pull it back up. But anyway, this guy's a joke. Like, literally, he's a joke. Like, the only people that's going to be voting for him are his friends. So he may get 100 votes. Literally, he may get 100 votes. Now, look what this guy posted today. He made this post. He's supposed to be a pastor, too. He says he's a pastor, a minister. There's no way in the world that's true because you just watch his lives and he's got issues. I mean, he's off the chain. This is what he posted today. Jamel J. Brown, leading the way, delivering trust. This guy put out this today saying he is leading by 95% among voters age 18 to 45. 95%. He's leading 50% by 50% among voters age 45 to 65. Now, he's only leading by 30% in voters age 65 to 85, which, in all seriousness, that would be a big issue because that's a big part of your voters. That age group is very important. But anyway, polling first place out of 6 candidates. It just, and let me pull up the full post. Like to us, like everybody laughs at him. That's the only reason. The amount of followers he has, I follow him too because it's pure entertainment. But there's no way in any world anybody takes this guy serious. But now he's being dead serious. But he must have got those stats from the same place Nick Smith gets his stats. Let's pull up his page here. We need a good laugh. Jamel Jermaine Brown. Date night in ATL, the soon-to-be fiance. I don't know how any platform doesn't kick him off immediately the things he says. Like, it's horrible. Like, I'm not even going to click on him here because I'm afraid he would get me banned from all the platforms. Let's see what this is. But see, he says he's a pastor. Like, legit, he says that. And I've seen videos of him actually in some church preaching. He needs to be in church. He does not need to be preaching. Oh, Miss Nelson here is going to vote for him. Go vote for him. He's running for governor. This is his first time in Mobile. We're not talking about some small city, about one of the biggest cities in Alabama. He's never even been there before. Jesus. Hell yeah, I'm voting defam Jamel Brown. Why? He don't care. In out voting in he's funny and not boring like the rest of the boring politicians. That's proper grammar in English right there. We'll click on one of these and see what he's saying for a second. He ain't gonna say anything. He's just staring at the camera.
The election is 1 week until the election, okay?
What?
And let me get everything straight here. Okay. All right, there everybody go. It's 1 week until the election today. So for the next 10 minutes, all right, I want to hear from y'all. I want to hear from y'all. Okay?
Spit it out there, buddy.
I'm going to open the phone line because I want to hear from y'all. Who all wants to get into the phone? Who all want me to open?
All right, never mind. That's my God. Let's try another one. Let's see what this guy is saying about this.
All right, y'all. I'm
post
gonna
here.
sit this right here, and I'm gonna let you guys just say what you want to say about this. Jamel J. Brown. He's running for governor here in Alabama. So many people done had a lot of things to say negative about this young gentleman. Good, bad, but so many people got a lot of negative things, including black people, saying what they won't like about what he's
because it
doing.
has nothing to
He's a
do with
clown,
race.
He's a joke.
He is a joke, man.
But one thing I am seeing a difference in is that he's out here running. He's spending his money and he's running. How many other people are out here trying to run? Jamel Brown is doing nothing no different than what Donald Trump is doing. A lot of us supported Donald Trump, and he's being a clown. Look who is governor now, and some of y'all out there supported those clowns. How are you going to call this man a clown? He being real, just like Donald Trump. Brown.
All right. Let's answer that question, because I think we'll answer it pretty quick. How are we calling him a clown? Let's see what all we can find here. I commented on one of his posts that he was going to do all this stuff first day in office, and I said, would you please go read the authority that the Alabama governor has? Because none of the things you're doing, you won't have the authority to do any of those. Like, literally, you can't do them. And he responded back to me, I do what I want. All right. That's seriously what he responded back to me. So. Oh my God. This is one of his campaign posters. Oh. Why are we calling him a clown? Down with the bitches and hoes, he says. Oh. Oh my goodness. uh, you are more qualified than a lot of those up there. I don't disagree with some of that. I just want to go to church on Sunday and listen to my pastor and spiritual father preach. I agree with him on this. Jamel Brown's 10 Commandments. Do not steal my post. You think he has a problem of people stealing his post? I don't know about that. Uh-oh, strike one, you get a warning. Strike two, you blocked for life without the possibility of parole. To be set free from team, we gotta take notes here. We gotta start doing this. To be set free from the block list, you gotta pay him $100 bail amount. So if you want off the block list, you gotta pay $100. Here's his reparations plan, because that makes sense. He's going to pay $10,000 per family and $5,000 per individual. One-time payment. I was about to say, who's he going to pay? Direct support to descendants of slavery. I bet there's a lot of people that probably don't want to know that, because when they find out they're not a descendant of slavery, and then some of the ones, sorry, I don't know what that was. Jesus. Some of the ones that are, they probably wouldn't want to get the money. Read his post, what he said here. Be $100 for 1 hour interviews for my time. And no, I don't want to talk about politics. Well, of course, you're running for governor. Why would you talk about politics? I was thinking about getting him on podcast, but I don't think we're going to pay him $100 an hour for interviewing him. So I think we're going to have to scratch that. You think she can't be the first lady if she's not married to him? She's got a different last name. They're not married. Not even engaged yet. I was trying to get to that one campaign poster that he put out. The best one. Oh, breaking news. I've just been informed that I have 95% of Alabama support to win on May 19th. This girl said, "Who told you that, ChatGPT?" Oh, my goodness. I tell you. See, here's where he's preaching. He literally says he's a preacher. I don't know what this is. You blocked, he says. Now, I do want to say this back to what the other guy was saying about, hey, at least he's running. And anybody that's been following me, that's what I said in the beginning. That I said I would always have full respect for anybody that actually runs. Because that's putting yourself out there. That's not easy. Until I saw how big of a joke this is. And then, you can't help but make fun of him. You can't. This guy is legit going to be on the ballot. Oh, yeah, here's the good ones. This is where he's going to release all nonviolent people. Oh, this was one of my favorites. On my first week in office as governor of Alabama, new 32-hour work week. More rest, more energy, more family time, more peace of mind. Your pay will not be reduced. You're only going to work Monday through Thursday. So, see, he is mistaken this for Russia, North Korea. I just don't think the poor guy understands that the governor has absolutely no control over what private businesses do. Their working hours, how much they pay people. No, the governor has no say in that. I own a business. I wish I could just work 32 hours a week. I work I work at least double that. Most weeks more. So you're only going to have to work Monday through Thursday, 32 hours a week. Salary stays the same. Vacation pay stays the same. 401k stays the same. Job benefits stay the same. Plan benefits for Alabamians: rest, energy, time with family, time with friends, mental health breaks, time to actually enjoy life. Except if this were real, nobody would be enjoying life because there'd be no businesses open anymore. Every worker receives 1 hour, 30 minutes of daily paid break time. 100 hours PTO, 100 hours vacation, 100 hours sick leave, 100 hours bereavement leave, 100 hours mental health leave. He's just throwing those hours out everywhere. I don't know why we call him a clown, because he's literally a clown. Oh, I like this one too. Not really. It was a joke. I shouldn't even have said that. I will raise the age of consent to 20 years old. Anyone under the age of 20 cannot legally consent to sexual activity with anyone over the age of 20. Can't do it. So, if you're 19 and your boyfriend or girlfriend's 20, you're going to prison. Just going to change the age of consent. As governor, I will pardon and wipe records clean at the state level for individuals who have done their time, paid their debt to society, proven they are rehabilitated. He's going to wipe their records clean. Never happened. The Brown Second Chance Law. Your record will be expunged. Your weapon rights will be restored. Your voting rights will be restored. You will be able to work any job. So again, if you own a private business, he's going to tell you who you can hire and who you can't. Oh, my goodness gracious. Well, I haven't seen this one. Your job is your credit plan announced. Credit scores would no longer be the deciding factor. You know, there's a reason credit scores are the deciding factor. Because it usually tells a story of what kind of borrower you are. But no, credit score is gone. Doesn't matter. Proof of income, employment stability, and ability to pay. More people approved for homes because that's never put our... He must not have been alive in 2008. That's never put our economy in a recession, has it? Never. Oh, wait. Yes, it literally did. That's what caused the recession in 2008. So he wants to go back to that. More people approved for homes. That didn't work out so well last time we did that. More access to vehicles, fair loan opportunities, economic growth across Alabama. If he literally did these things, like if he could do these things and did them, there would be no economy anymore in Alabama. It would be gone. I mean, literally. It's just crazy that he this is serious to him too. So yeah, I mean, he's a clown. Oh yeah, this is another good one. Executive order to remove mandatory drug testing requirements for employment. Again, he's going to determine who you can hire and who you can't. That's not up to you. This is not a free country or anything. You don't get to run your business how you want to. I will also move to abolish the at-will employment law in Alabama. No more unfair firings. Workers deserve fairness and job security. Yeah. There are some horror stories about that of people that should not have been fired for things. I get that. But it's my business. The government should have absolutely no say in who I hire and fire. That's way overreach. Way overreach. And it's literally like that in some states. That has always blown my mind. Like, that is a huge government overreach. Because I might say, you know what? I just don't like them. It's my business. I'm all for legalizing the green stuff. You all know that. Oh, and if you're running for something in Alabama, probably not the best idea for you to put the phrase "like California" on any of your campaign messages. That's probably not going to get you a lot of votes. But I do agree with them on legalization. It's not 1940 anymore. Make alcohol illegal and that legal. We'd have a lot less deaths. We'd have a lot less domestic violence. We'd have a lot less people's lives taken on the roadway. For real. I'm taking action against private slumlords like never before. Enough is enough. If you are a resident of Alabama making under $100,000 a year, there's no reason you should be paying over $1,000 a month in rent. That's not how capitalism works. That's not how our economy works. That is not a democracy at all. If you make under $100,000 annually, your rent will be capped at $700 per month. That's it. Tenants will be responsible for utilities. Tenants will maintain basic exterior upkeep of the property. Eviction notices extended to 90 days, not this 30-day mess. We got to get rid of that. Because 30 days is not enough time for a family to regain stability. I wonder if he understands it. It's not like it just all of a sudden and you have 30 days to get out. Like, you knew it was coming. Yeah, in a perfect world, some of this stuff sounds awesome. But we don't live in a perfect world, not even close. It's crazy. I like this. Legalize the green stuff, then also remove felony classifications for it. Well, if you legalize it, you don't have to do the second thing there. This is kind of how the law works. You got that like California in there again. For any of you politicians, just take note. If you're running for something in Alabama, don't put the word California in anything that you're campaigning. It will not work out well for you. I don't know who these people are. All right, that's enough. We needed a good laugh. I'm going to play. I'm going to play. We got to play this one video of Nick Smith. My team was wanting me to play. I haven't seen it, so we'll check it out. quickly. Yeah, Cody, I did. Yeah, we'll talk about some of those laws that's going to be on the ballot Friday. All right, let's see what Nick Smith's new video here is. Uh-oh. Why is there no sound? That's weird. Let me try to. Hold on, let me try something else. I don't know why there's just no sound. Team, where was that video? Is it not on his campaign page? Oh, here it is.
Hi, I'm Sheriff Nick Smith, and I'm out on the campaign trail, so I just want to spend a few minutes with you to talk about the upcoming sheriff's race. And I want to remind people where we've come from 8 years ago to today. You know, when I was elected to be sheriff in 2018, I didn't take office until 2019. Walker County was #1 in the state of Alabama for drug-related deaths. We were 5th in the nation per capita. And a lot of that had to do with the closure of some of our doctors' offices that were over medicating, and the opioid epidemic that we faced, and which led people to go to heroin. So it was kind of reemerged, the whole heroin again, and led us to being #1 in the state of Alabama for drug-related deaths. When I took office, I remember my first night when I took office, and I walked in and I was getting the tour. It was like at midnight, and I had a commissioner and some employees meet with me down in the lobby. The commissioner prayed for this administration, and I remember my first tour and how embarrassed the female jailer was to give the tour, just basically just how bad the conditions of inside the jail were. But you didn't hear about that. People kept it quiet. There was no outrage about how poor and how bad the conditions inside the jail were. And so we immediately got to work with that.
He's going to talk about that damn painting again, isn't he?
I best described the county jail as the equivalent of a third world country jail. I'm not sure that we had more than 5 working toilets in there.
How many third world countries has Nick Smith been to, first off? I would seriously like to know if he's ever been to a third world country, because more than likely he has not.
No proper lighting, the locks didn't work, no cameras, and so we immediately got to work on those issues. We got to processing because our jail was so overcrowded. We had about 430 people in a 250 bed capacity jail. Now, when we started evaluating and looking at some of these cases, some of these individuals have been sitting in jail 6, 7, and the most extreme 8 years without.
Before he says this about how they have so many less inmates now, one of the reasons they have a lot less inmates is because before he took office, they were housing federal inmates, which pays very well. The federal government will pay you a lot to house their inmates. They were doing that. Well, now, for obvious reasons, the feds pulled they don't let them do that anymore, which pulled how much, God knows how much money they lost on that because of him. But that's one of the main reasons there's a lot less inmates. He's acting like it. I don't know what he thinks, how he thinks he can spin that to make it look good on him, when it's literally the reason that he has a lot less inmates is because of the bad things he did. If he talks about painting that damn jail, I'm going to lose my mind.
A trial in a county jail. Now, a county jail is not designed to be a long-term housing facility. That's what prison's for. We're not operating a prison. We're operating a county jail. And so I brought this to the court's attentions and said, hey, we've got to get these people's cases tried. We've got to get them to court. I'm really not sure how we're getting around the fair and speedy trial aspect. And I made a lot of people mad by just standing up for what was right. And what was right was that if you're going to be charged with something, you're supposed to be able to be
He doesn't know what
before a
he's
jury
talking
of your
about.
peers,
You can tell.
unless your case gets settled or dismissed in the process. Well, we worked really hard over the last several years to advocate to get these cases tried and get these cases resolved and get these individuals to prison, because
Any sheriff will tell you this. As sheriff, you have no say in when things go to trial. You just house them. Now, could you go to the DA and say, hey, what's going on, or to the judges? You could. It's probably not going to do you much good. But again, this is him spinning this lie. He's trying to make it look like that he is the reason they have a lot less inmates in there now. And so he's made up this reason versus the real reason is because the feds pulled all their inmates.
the longer somebody sits in that county jail, it's costing local Walker County tax dollars. So those individuals sitting in there 6, 7, 8 years instead of prison, it's costing you local tax dollars. So when you go and buy a drink in a grocery store and you see that county tax, okay, well, that county tax, the longer they're sitting in jail, your local county tax dollars are paying for them to sit in that county jail. Now, are your state tax dollars paying when they're in prison? Absolutely. That's your state tax dollars that when you get that state tax. But your county tax dollars, your local tax dollars, could be going somewhere else if we made it a priority.
Does everybody know how county and state taxes work now? I have no idea why he was explaining the tax process to us like we're 8. Yeah, we understand, Nick, that when we pay state taxes, it goes to the state. And when we pay county taxes, it goes to the county.
to try these cases faster and stop keeping people in jail 6, 7, 8 years without a trial. We need to get these cases tried fast. We need to get these folks, if they're guilty, get them sent to prison. If they're innocent, we need to be letting them go. But in a lot of senses, when I took office, that wasn't being done. Are we perfect now? Absolutely not, but we are working better. Our jail population, checked it today, was about 170. So from 430 to 170. And over the last year, we've even seen as low as the low hundreds. So we've made progress in that.
You know why he's seen as low as the 100s? Again, that's not a good thing, Nick Smith. That just means you're putting fewer people in jail. That means you're not working.
Arena. Now, it's very hard to, when you're talking about the conditions of the jail, at that point in time, the jail had 8 hours of medical services. So you had 4 hours in the morning, you had 4 hours in the evening. I advocated from the first day that I came into office for 24/7 medical services. Now, we have that now. But
what good did that do, Tony Mitchell? Anybody know? Yeah, just having it doesn't mean shit, Nick. Actually using it. That's the key.
But it shouldn't take a bad event to get it. It was something that we should have been proactive and gotten when I was asking for it 8 years ago. But when I did take office, we were able to get it from 8 hours to 16 hours of medical within the first couple of years. It's taken us several years to get to 24/7 medical and mental health in the jail. So we've seen a lot of progress there. One of the things that I had campaigned on when I ran for office was to put deputies in all of our school campuses, and to do that in 2 phases, which was put someone Curry Valley and Lupton day one, because they didn't have a municipal police force. They relied solely on the sheriff's department. So we were able to achieve that on day one, because in the event of an emergency, response time could take 30, 40 minutes for a deputy to get there.
I know this is a pet peeve that most people don't care about, but it is a pet peeve of mine. If you are an elected official, you run a office. A department is your tree branches from that office. There is no such thing as a sheriff's department, because an elected official runs it. It's an office. Again, I know most of y'all, you're like, why are you even worried about that? It's just a pet peeve of mine. And it's not just him. I just don't understand how you don't know what you ran for and that you actually run an office, not a department. They are two completely different things.
Depending on where they were at and what they were dealing with. So now we have a deputy on campus at all of our school campuses. Second phase of that was to put somebody on every county school campus, and we've accomplished that. People have tried to make that a political issue. I think a lot of that became a political issue because they knew that was something that no other sheriff has ever been able to accomplish, and we were able to accomplish it. So that was a strong campaign point, and they've turned down.
I just want to point out, he has contradicted himself from that one post we saw earlier. Remember the post where he said, since 2019, he has had school resource officers in every school, on every school campus? You remember that? And I told y'all then, I said, that's a lie. He didn't have them in everyone. He had them in some then. Now he just admits that. So he tells so many lies, he can't keep up with all of them. Marla, I would love to have a real conversation with you. You understand you're talking about Nick Smith's agency is literally the most corrupt in the history of law enforcement in the United States. There's been no other agency their size or bigger that has ever had over 30% of their agency federally indicted. That's never happened. That's unprecedented. I don't see how anybody could. He's literally the worst leader I've ever seen. I'm curious to talk to one of his supporters for you, because I always try to look at things from the other side. And I can't for the life of me understand how anybody could support him, knowing what happened in that jail. And that's just that one instant. That's not even half the problems that we see. It's just, I don't get it. Literally anybody would do better. Like, I would dead serious. Could you explain to me why you still support him? He claims he didn't know what was going on. Okay, that's not a big jail. He claims he's a working sheriff. He doesn't sit behind his desk. Okay, if he didn't know what was going on in his own jail, then he's a horrible leader. If he did know, no, see, you're trying to pull the same stuff that AL.com did with the earlier case we were talking about. Mr. Mitchell did not pass. He was see, this is the thing. Do y'all all realize he was literally tortured for 2 weeks? Tortured. I mean, he was tortured. And Nick Smith allowed that. Not only did he allow it, he refuses to fix the problem because he himself has said, I refuse to watch the video. You can't fix a problem if you claim you don't know what happened and you refuse to watch the video. Like, that's crazy to me. And I love this. He's a good man. My grandpa was the best man I've ever met in my life. Like, literally. He wouldn't have been a good sheriff. Like, being a good man is not the only qualification for being a sheriff. There are way more qualifications that you have to have. Being a good man is not a qualification to be sheriff. He lied on a search warrant and then went out and tried to illegally seize random citizen cell phones that day. That's how hard he was trying to keep the video of Tony Mitchell getting out. He and his jail told agents that first started investigating Tony Mitchell's death that there was no video of it. They told them that. And it wasn't until the video got leaked to the public that we all found out, oh, there is video. He also had 2 deputies as school resource officers that were not certified by APOST, had never been to the academy. They completely untrained, literally completely untrained. And he knew that they would never be allowed to be APOST certified because APOST had already told him that. He said, I'm going to do what I want to do. So he still gave them a firearm and a badge, which was illegal. That's why he's been indicted. And then A Post found out, hey, I think he's still employing at least one of these that we told him he's not allowed to. And so A Post asked him and Ralph Williams, are y'all still employing that guy that we told you will never be allowed to be A Post certified and can't be a law enforcement officer? They said, no, we're not. He's not employed here anymore. Well, he was. That's another reason he's been indicted. They lied straight to A Post. Bold lie. He tried to hire, he was going, if it wasn't for, and it wasn't just me, it was Secrets True Crime, Amber Sitton, Michael Fleming, and some others. If it wasn't for us raising hell when we found out he was about to hire Jason Hare back, he would have hired him back. We're the only reason he didn't. Think about that. Have you seen the video of Jason Hare, of what he did to that girl? He SA'd her. It's horrible. Like, it's one of those videos, every time I watch it, I want to knock his freaking teeth down his throat. Nick Smith had him as an SRO. Then after that, after the video, after he got fired, forced to resign, Jason Hare was forced to resign from Cordova as the police chief. Nick Smith was going to hire him back as a deputy. After seeing that on video. It's horrible. I've talked to two separate females, two completely different females, don't know each other. And unfortunately, I saw the evidence. I didn't want to. They sent me the evidence before I was able to say, don't send me that picture. I've talked to two where Ralph Williams, his chief deputy, responded to their house. Okay, so the one girl, he responded to her house for criminal mischief or something like that. Somebody had busted her. Well, I don't want to say anymore because I don't want anybody to know who the victim is because she wants to remain anonymous. Anyway, and Ralph Williams responded out there. She didn't know him. She had never met him before in her life. He took her report, and part of the report, he has to get her phone number. The next day, she gets a text message from a number. She don't know who it is. And she opens it up, and it's Ralph Williams, and he sent her a D-pic. A victim of a crime that called him to help her. He just sends them random nudes. Completely unwanted. It scared her to death. And she legit didn't know whether she should say anything to him. Because she thought, then, is he going to come out here and hurt me? If I don't go along with this? She didn't go along with it. But she didn't know what to do. She was legit scared. Then the other woman I talked to, she called the Walker County Sheriff's Office to respond to her house because her ex-boyfriend was harassing her. And she was scared of him. He was making threats and harassing her. Ralph Williams responds. He takes her report, has to get her phone number for the report. Not even the next day, later that night, she gets a text message from a number she don't know. She opens it up. It's Ralph Williams, and he sent a D-pic. That's two separate ones. Guarantee you it's not the only ones. Those are just the two that's contacted me. And again, unfortunately, I saw the evidence. Which reminds me, no matter what, under no circumstance, send me a nude picture of anybody. And I'm dead serious about that. Please don't. I asked Nick Smith about those. I said, are you aware that your chief deputy is doing this? You know what his response was to me? Well, I mean, I've heard about it, but unless they got to come up here and file a formal complaint before I do something. Excuse me? So if they don't file, they're not going to file a formal complaint because they're freaking scared of y'all. He knows his chief deputy has done this. And guess what? He's still his chief deputy. Still responding to calls. Still the second in command when Nick Smith's not there. If Nick Smith's not there, Ralph Williams is the acting sheriff. These are things that should never happen. They're completely unacceptable. If Ralph Williams worked at any other law enforcement agency, especially any legit law enforcement agency, he would have been fired, not resigned, not forced to resign or suspend. He would have been fired. And APOS would have been notified, and they would have pulled his APOS certification then. You cannot do that under any circumstance, what he did. It makes me sick. When Nick Smith found out, okay, one of Nick Smith's best friends is Joey Vick, who is also the Walker County's coroner. What's come out now, and we know that there are multiple victims that have come forward saying that Joey Vick SA'd them when they were children. Multiple. Also, some grown women that came forward and said that he did it to them when they were grown. One that's spoken out publicly was seeing Joey Vick for marriage counseling. And while she was in his coroner's office, seeing him for marriage counseling, because he was also her minister, he assaulted her in there. So we know there's probably well over 100 victims of Joey Vick's. A lot of them were children. Then Joey Vick is trying to sue one of his victims for speaking out. Now she's counter suing him now. He's going to lose. She's going to win. But when Nick Smith found out he was suing one of those victims, you know what he was worried about? He wasn't, oh, wow. It's being alleged that our coroner, a very powerful man in our local system, is essaying minors. Maybe we should investigate that. No, that's not what Nick Smith was. He still to this day is not investigated at all. Nick Smith was happy and put out a post since that lawsuit was filed that he was excited because maybe now people behind some of the fake social media accounts, they would get their real name. That's what he was happy about. So happy he made a post about it. Why does Nick Smith care that much about finding out who's behind some fake social media accounts? So he can retaliate. Literally, that's the only reason. And again, could not care less that his best friend and Coroner has been essaying minors his whole life. What does the sheriffs before Nick have to do with any of this? Like, I don't understand that comment at all. We're not talking about them. We're talking about Nick Smith and the things that's happened since he's been in office. He's the one running for sheriff again. No previous sheriff of Walker County other than Nick Smith is running in this election. So you say Ralph has been doing this for 21 years. So how can you say Nick Smith is a good man? That's a legit question. How can you say that when Nick knows that? He knows what Ralph is doing. And he doesn't care. He knows what his best friend Joey Vick, his corner, is doing to children, and he doesn't care. He knows what Jason Hare did to that 18-year-old, completely innocent girl that was working her first job out of high school. He knows because there's video of it, and he don't care. I just don't understand how anybody can say he's a good man, because he's not. In fact, he's one of the worst humans I've ever investigated. I've never seen anything. I've literally been a part of quite a few, numerous corrupt sheriff's investigations. None of them, you could put everything all them did together, and they're not as bad as everything Nick Smith's done. That's how bad it is. Again, I don't live in Walker County. I don't know Nick Smith personally. I'd met him a few times in my life before, didn't know him. It's not like I woke up one day and said, you know what, I'm going to start talking about this guy. No, the citizens of Walker County messaged me. I put out one video on him, and the next day I had between the platforms, I had over 500 messages of, please help us. Please help us get him out. He and his office has done this to us and my family. He and his office has done it like nonstop. I've had so many of these just horrible conversations with these people and heard their stories, and it's horrible. Nick Smith deserves to be in prison the rest of his life for the things he's done and the things he's responsible for. And there are still some people who's going to vote for him in the upcoming sheriff's election. Friday night, I've went through all of his campaign finances. We're going to go over all that because I got them all. That's some interesting reading. That way everybody can see who is supporting him, who's really giving him money. The fact that he has more than double the amount of campaign funds than any of the other candidates by far. Oh, and guess who one of his donors is? You'll never guess. Well, of course, Joey Vick. And I think J.J. Jackson has some questions to answer too. But he's given a decent amount of money to Nick Smith's campaign. Just strange considering what does J.J. make, $16, $17 an hour? There's a lot of questions to be asked. A lot. But I want everybody to see where this money's really coming from and some of the businesses it's coming from. And we're going to call every single one of them out. Every single one of them. If you've given $100, you're going to be called out. And there's nothing you can do about it now. It's too late. I've already got it all. I even saw a few people that's been contributing that's acted like they're on my side. That's acted like they're against Nick Smith. Sending me messages. It's pretty crazy, isn't it? One that's been on almost every live I've ever had. Acting like they hate Nick Smith. Acting like they are against corruption. I think if they really were that, they wouldn't be giving him money. And I'm going to call your ass out too. So everybody knows. I'll probably even post the messages you've sent me. I think everybody needs to know exactly what you do and who you are. Yep, that's Friday night. So I look forward to that. It's going to be some interesting things. All right, I know we didn't finish that video, but I got to go. It's almost midnight. I appreciate each and every one of you for being on here. I truly do. Whether you agree with me, disagree with me, I appreciate you. I really do. I don't want a bunch of people on here that all agree with me. I want people that disagree because I like having debates. I like having those discussions with people that disagree with me. Always learn something, and you probably will too. So I enjoy that. And again, I just appreciate everybody. Definitely appreciate my team. I couldn't do any of this without them. Not even close. They are just amazing, and I hope they truly know how much I appreciate them, because I truly do. We've gotten pretty far on the website, so I don't know exactly how much longer it's going to be, but it's coming along, and some of the courses, so I'm excited about that. Make sure you check out my full podcast I put out, was it yesterday or day before yesterday? And then I got another one that'll be hitting tomorrow. Should be up by around 4 p.m. tomorrow. And all I ask of you is to follow me, subscribe, whatever platform you're on. If you're not subscribing to my YouTube channel, I would really appreciate if you'd go over there and subscribe. It's Agent D Baker, because we're trying to build that up, and that helps a lot. And also, all I ask of you is to watch my videos, listen to my podcast, watch them all the way through, like them, repost them, and comment on them. All those things help get them pushed out, which brings awareness to the things we're talking about. That's most of the things that we talk about are things that need fixed. Corruption, whatever the case may be. And so they all need awareness brought to them. And that's, you all are who can do that. So I really appreciate it. Hope you all have a great rest of your Wednesday night. I've enjoyed it, and I will see y'all back Friday night, 9 p.m. Central. 9 p.m. Central Friday night. Welcome to Truth Recon. I'm Agent D Baker, former narcotics detective, SWAT team member, and U.S. Navy combat veteran. With years of real-world experience in high-stakes environments, I've seen firsthand the dangers that lurk both in our communities and now increasingly online. Before this show begins, understand this. What you are about to hear may be disturbing to some audiences. This podcast contains explicit language, dark themes, and real conversations